This is News 12 Law Call.
Hi again, and welcome to News 12 Law Call Zoom edition. I'm your host, Neil Gordon. We welcome back into the program a pair of personal injury attorneys with the Hawk Law Group, Sean Merzalak and Chase Hawk. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Evening, Neil. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Just wondering, with the multitude of personal injury cases that you handle and personal injury situations with insurance companies, how is the court system in the CSRA right now in light of the COVID-19?
I'll go ahead and let you explain, Sean.
Sure. As far as, criminal cases in the CSRA, they are a lot more court intensive, and there's been, quite a slowdown in them. Obviously, the Supreme Court order in Georgia does not allow for jury trials at this point. So the courts are trying to do some essential services for those criminal cases. And in most civil cases, which are not as court intensive, absent, an actual trial, we're still able to basically move those cases right along through the use of technology. We've been doing a lot of Zoom mediations, Zoom interviews with clients and witnesses, as well as Zoom depositions. Those are really the key to civil cases to move and progress cases that are pending litigation along.
Yeah, and we're trying to work with Judge Brown here in Augusta, Georgia, who is pushing to open some annexes that are going to allow us to hold some of these criminal and civil trials, hopefully, very soon, in a way in which we're able to social distance and adhere to all of the CDC and local health officials' guidelines for COVID-19.
Okay. Well, we'll kick off our program with you, Chase, as we fight the insurance company. And I don't know, I'm not an attorney, but this one seems like a bit of a lowball offer given to Susie. Susie's husband was a passenger in an accident, and his hand went around the airbag, breaking the windshield. The airbag then hit his ear. He's got trouble with his hand. He's lost most of his hearing. The insurance company hasn't paid anything yet and is offering $7,000 for everything. The insurance woman, Susie says, has been rude, and they've sent her everything she's asked for, and they're kind of at a crossroads. Any suggestion?
Yeah, I hate to sound like, I'm just repeating myself over and over again, but the answer in most of these cases is you need to get to a trial attorney. With what you've described there, this incident, there are a lot of very serious issues, and this is a complex situation. And in most cases, if you have a problem in let's say, for instance, in your home, a plumbing problem, most people, if it's a serious problem, would call a professional that knows exactly what they're doing. Why? Because if plumbing doesn't work in your house, it's bad, and you don't want to go fumbling around if you don't know what you're doing. Well, in this case, it seems very simple what should happen here. You hurt somebody in a car accident, you should take care of them, make sure all of their medical bills are paid, and that they're paid for their pain and suffering. Seems very simple, but actually there are a bunch of nuanced things happening here that need to be considered. For one, did that airbag function properly? Do we need to keep that airbag so that we can possibly go after that manufacturer? There are insurance contracts involved in the car that caused the accident. There are insurance contracts involved in the car that he was actually in. The insurance on the cars that you have at home are all in play, and your health insurance contract is going to also come into play to pay medical bills. And all of those contracts are going to converge to try and pay you what's fair for this case. And you have different rights and entitlements under each one of these contracts. And negotiating all that and being able to read all that legalese is time-consuming, difficult, and complex. And having a professional that does this stuff all the time is going to be vital to you. So do not talk to the insurance company anymore, Susie. Go see a good trial attorney in your local area and get a free consultation as to what should happen with your husband. It sounds like he's got some permanent issues, and he may be entitled to a lot of money.
So I was correct. So on first glance, 7,000 seems a little light.
Yeah, very light.
Okay, fair enough.
Certainly light for, what sounds like a permanent injury, permanent hearing loss in the near.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And the
Yeah.
mandatory minimum for the coverage on the car that caused the accident in Georgia is going to be $25,000. The same is true for South Carolina. And that's to pay medical bills and pain and suffering. So at the very minimum, the husband should be walking away with that $25,000 minimum.
Sean, we've got a car insurance question for you from Gabby. She wants to know, does car insurance cover any damaged property that was in the car? Just to clarify, does she mean if there's an accident and, I don't know, she had stereo equipment or jewelry, or what exactly do you think she means?
Well, Neil, I think she's talking about items that are not a part of the actual vehicle that she's driving. And Gabby, the answer to your question is yes. The insurance on motor vehicles is designed to pay not only for property damage, but for injuries, received medical costs of people that are injured in accidents. In terms of the property damage portion, it does include items that are in your car. For instance, we carry a lot of expensive items around in our car these days. Cell phones can be $1,000, laptops, tablets, things of that nature. If were involved in an accident and an item like that is actually not a part of the car was damaged, then the insurance would be, responsible for paying those damages. As Chase mentioned, they're going to be limited based on the amount of damage or the amount of insurance that's available in the car. If a person has $25,000 property damage, which is just the basic minimum insurance required in Georgia, and it's a pretty significant accident where there's a lot of damage to the vehicle, that might eat up that $25,000, really quickly. Another thing to make sure you do is be able to, document the value of items that you have in your car, so that you can prove to the insurance company the damage and the value of that damage.
Okay, we'll take our first break and we'll deal with a drunk driving issue and an odd question from a hospital person after an accident. Please stick around. You're watching News 12 Law Call. We'll be back in a bit.
Welcome back to News 12 Law Call with award-winning broadcaster Neil Gordon. And from the Hawk Law Group, attorney Vic Hawk, with more than 30 years experience and millions of dollars awarded to his clients. Attorney Reed Sanders, born and raised in Thompson and known for his strong courtroom skills. With criminal law, former police officer, now lawyer Sean Merzlach. And with South Carolina injury law, trial attorney Chase Hawk. Plus guest attorneys from across the CSRA. Your rights, your calls, live. News 12 Law Call.
Hi again. Welcome back to News 12 Law Call Zoom edition. I'm Neil Gordon, joined by attorneys Chase Hawk and Sean Merzlach from the Hawk Law Group, and we're involved with insurance type questions, some of which dealing with car accidents. And Chase, we've got a question from Stephen. It's a family issue. Stephen's sister was in a wreck, but the sister was driving Stephen's car. So whose insurance should pay for the damage? Stephen's sister insurance company or Stephen's insurance company?
Yeah, that's a question that comes up a lot in our business. And there's a phrase or a term of art that we use. We talk about whether the insurance follows the car or the insurance follows the person, because it's different from state to state. But in Georgia and South Carolina, in this situation, it's the same. It follows the vehicle. So if the car was lent to the sister and she had permission to drive the car, then your insurance is going to be the first insurance that is there to pay if she causes an accident and hurts someone. her insurance on her own vehicle at home would actually be what they call excess. For instance, if she hurt someone very bad and your insurance policy was completely exhausted, you had $25,000 in coverage, and that money was paid out to the person they hurt. Well, then her insurance, if she had another $25,000, would come in to pay for any additional damages after that. And typically they do not come after you personally for assets or anything like that after they recover from both the liability policies, but they have that option. Most often they pursue type coverage. However, under the circumstances, if the sister did not have permission to take the car, but was, say, staying at house sitting, and she found the keys and went to the store, but she didn't have permission. Well, in that situation, her insurance policy would be primary. So the important thing to remember is that those people that you give permissive use to your vehicle to, that's gonna affect you and your premiums if they go out and start getting into car accidents and causing other people to be injured. So you need to be careful and be responsible about who you give your car to. If you know that your sister has an issue with having a little too much to drink at the restaurant, might not be a good idea to lend her the vehicle.
Speaking of that, we have a drunk driving question. This one comes from Abby. Sean, Abby was hit by a drunk driver last month. The driver's insurance company is offering to pay for Abby's medical bills and car repair. The challenge is, in light of this, Abby missed some work and then had to cancel her vacation. So is she entitled to more than just medical bills or property damage?
Well, Neil, she certainly is entitled to more. The things that she's describing are what we call special damages. They're economic damages that are pretty easily calculated. They flow directly as a result from the incident. You know, had the incident not occurred, the accident not occurred, she would not have suffered these expenses. That's how we get to those. So obviously the medical bills and the property damage to the vehicle is going to be covered, as well as the lost time from work. And, you know, there's a good possibility any of the expenses she incurred as a result of having to cancel her vacation would be, you know, something that she could be compensated for. That's why it's important to, you know, at least do a consultation with a trial attorney who specializes in accidents and injury cases, so that they can, you know, fully evaluate your claim and explain to you the different things that you might not understand that you can be compensated for as a result of that accident. Also, with this case, we've got a drunk driver involved. And there may be punitive damages available. Those are damages, you know, that aren't necessarily meant to compensate the victim of an accident because of some economic loss they suffered, but they're designed to, you know, punish and deter the conduct that they're, you know, levied against.
Fair enough. We have one more automobile accident to try to sort out. This question, Chase, comes from Stephen, and Stephen's wife was in a car wreck, spent a week in the hospital. The hospital wants to know if the family is going to be filing a lawsuit, and Stephen was sort of taken aback and wants to know, you know, why you asking?
Sure. You can rest assured that when you start receiving phone calls from insurance companies and hospitals after a car accident, that they're calling because of money. Okay. And the hospitals, I talked a little bit before about how we have all these different contracts that come into play and they all have different rights. Well, this is one of those situations that an attorney deals with all the time. This hospital is trying to make money. They have what they call negotiated discount rates with Blue Cross Blue Shield, with Humana, with Medicare, because these insurance companies, these health insurance companies, pay so many of the hospital's bills, they get a big bulk discount. Blue Cross Blue Shield will get 60 cents on the dollar. So every time the hospital bills $100, the Blue Cross Blue Shield only pays 60, and that's considered to be paid in full. Medicare, 32 cents on the dollar. In the instance in which you have a car accident, the hospital billing department knows that there is car insurance out there to pay this bill, and they do not have a negotiated discount rate with the car insurance. And they have a right to some of the money that is recovered for, in this case, I guess it would be your wife, from the insurance company to pay the bill. And they can put a lien against any sort of lawsuit to try and recover 100% of their bill. And they do that quite often as a regular course of business. And so they are trying to protect their interest and to basically try and get 100% of their bill. One of the services that an attorney can do is navigate what the actual rights of that hospital are in this particular situation. And many times they are able to negotiate the amount down close to what the negotiated discount rate is for the health insurance, or sometimes have that bill wiped out completely if they did not properly file their lien against the lawsuit. So that's why they're doing it. They're trying to get a little extra money.
Well, when we come back from our last break, we're going to look into cosmetic surgery gone bad, and we will answer Grace's question after we pay the bills. You're watching News 12 Law Call Zoom Edition. Welcome back. We want you to know the Hawk Law Group is very accessible through a lot of different devices and ways to communicate. You can dial all fours, very easy to remember, just the 706 area code. You can start the process of doing a Zoom call like we're doing now, or you can come and meet at one of their 4 offices, very sterile environments, very sanitized, and you'll be in a safe and healthy situation. You can also go to the website hawklawgroup.com, and there's a button for live chat as well. So a lot of different ways to get involved. And we welcome back into the program 2 attorneys voted as 2 of the best dressed attorneys in the state of Georgia. Chase Hawk with the very nice vest.
I don't deny it.
No, don't deny it. Just rock it. Along with Sean Merzalak, always looking good there at the Columbia County office for the Hawk Law Group. Our topic is fighting the insurance company. And apparently there's insurance on cosmetic surgery if things go bad. And Sean, the question comes from Grace, who decided to get a nose job about 6 months ago. And her nose is more bent now than it was before surgery. Goodness. So how is medical malpractice determined in a cosmetic surgery situation? And the doctor thinks it went just fine.
I bet the doctor does think it went just fine. Well, in a cosmetic surgery such as a rhinoplasty, the medical malpractice type case is really no different than any other medical procedure case. What we would have to do is to prove that that particular doctor deviated from the standard of care in some way, the standard practices that a doctor of his skill and nature would use, and that deviation from the standard of care resulted in the poor outcome on the surgery. It's going to require us to, do significant investigation as well as hire, expert witnesses in that field, other physicians. We're lawyers. We might be able to look at a person's nose and say, well, yeah, it still kind of looks crooked. But we need, expert witnesses, physicians that have lots of training and education in that to be able to look in detail whether or not that doctor deviated from the standard of care and whether or not that deviation made a difference. That's when there, is a possibility of recovery. With elective procedures like cosmetic surgery, though, there's a lot of assumption of the risk. Just like any medical procedure, you sign many forms, giving your consent for the procedure, waiving a lot of things. And with an elective procedure, there's always going to be some assumption of the risk that not every procedure goes exactly as planned. So those are the things that we have to look at and analyze in order to determine if a person can recover for some type of damage like that.
Yes, and I'll just add that the cost of doing these is a lot of the times what's prohibitive. In Georgia and in South Carolina, you have to have an expert's affidavit that this, like he said, there was a deviation from the standard of care, and that standard of care caused the damage in the case before you actually file a lawsuit, and that can cost $20,000 even before you actually are able to start the lawsuit.
Chase, Betty's backyard has a huge pile of bamboo that was cut down by a contractor who wants to burn it into small piles. And Betty's concern is who's liable should sparks reach a neighbor's property and cause some damages.
Sure, Betty, if you agree to allow this contractor to burn this scrap bamboo in your backyard, you are going to be what's called a joint tortfeasor if you cause damage to the neighbor's property, and both your insurance and his insurance, if he has it, are actually going to be on the hook. Okay, you can't just say, well, I just listened to the contractor and I let him burn the stuff on my yard. No, you have control over your own property and what's done there. You don't feel comfortable assuming that risk or assuming that liability in case the embers go over and start a fire somewhere else, then you can tell him not to. You have control over that contractor, and your insurance companies are eventually going to have to fight out who's more at fault in this situation. And I would bet that they would place a good bit more responsibility on you in this situation, because you are the person that ultimately has control over what does or does not happen on your property. So I would think twice before I allow him to do that. That gut feeling, like that worry that you have, that's a good feeling, and you need to listen to that.
Good advice, and we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much, both Sean and Chase Hawk from the Hawk Law Group. Our topic again, fighting the insurance company. And gentlemen, have a great week ahead, and then enjoy the time with family.
You too.
All right. Thanks, Neil.